Dang. That is some serious bell ringing going on at the Shark Cathedral tonight. Chartres Sona, Chartres Tapella, Guaona, Oclisaqua. Come on, old girl. We got the message. There she is, Notre Dame of Shark, calling all the Christians back. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can hear me, though. It's awfully loud. Michael Matt for Remnant TV. I don't know. I love the sound of that. We could just keep going for a long time. I'd be all right. But that, another one of those little metaphors, you know. It's a shark calling the world back. You know, Our Lady of Shark calling the world back to the faith, just as these bells would have called people to, you know, the Mass for 1,000 years. It's just so beautiful. Everything about this place is beautiful. But, yeah, the whole reason this place exists is because there's just a little piece of fabric in the basement, in the crypt of this place, which Our Lady was wearing when the angel Gabriel appeared to her and announced that she was to be the Mother of God. Okay. How do you absorb that? I don't know. Being Catholic is just too cool. I just was reading something, you know, the world would love to dismiss all this stuff. The modernists like to dismiss it. It doesn't even happen. And I was reading some of the verifications, the scientific verifications on the veil of Our Lady, which is the whole point and purpose of this building. And sure enough, just a few years ago, they tested it. What did they find in the fabric of this cloth, this veil? But pollen from the 1st century Palestine. And just like, you know, it's fun when science gets up and smacks these modernists in the face. You know what I mean? This is absolutely the veil of Our Lady. Everybody knows. Charlemagne is the one who was responsible for it coming here in the first place. So it's just such a beautiful thing. And now Chartres is literally ringing her bells all over the world, you know, on this pilgrimage. So it's fun. I mean, I want to share with you the enthusiasm, the happiness, the joy that this event brings to us. 3 days, 2 nights, walking across France from Paris to Chartres. I think one thing that people don't understand, I say, what is the exact number? Okay, well, this time, as I say, when I first started this 34 years ago, hardly anybody was even talking about it. It's just this crazy little French thing. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The Remnant, I'm proud to say, I started the first U.S. chapter on the Shark Pilgrimage ever, and people didn't seem to catch on. But I always thought, if people could come and do what I did, which is just basically walk this thing and see what it's all about, they're going to fall in love with it just as I have. Always believed this. It just took a little while for people to realize this is for real. This is serious. This event is right from, as far as I'm concerned, it's of God. And it is the most exciting thing happening, I think, in terms of the Catholic restoration in the world today. So when we say, I think I just the other day, by the way, to talk about the popularity of it, the Breitbart News comes out with a report just today, all just glowing report about this crazy pilgrimage in France. It's just attracting thousands and thousands of young people. Everybody's talking about, the whole world knows about it. It's all about the Latin Mass and all this stuff. This is so great. For me, it's just it's a huge triumph to see that Chartres really has come into her own now. And she really has, those bells have rung out, as I say, all across the world. Everybody knows something big is going to happen, right? So when we say 20,000 pilgrims this year marched 70 miles and slept 2 nights on the ground, and, you know, in some cases this year, some of the kids were sleeping in water. It was raining so much at night. Tough one at night. The days were pretty good. Nights were tough. When you see that 20,000, well, that's not 20,000 are attracted to it. Even with remnant tours now for our chapter, Guadalupe chapter, we could have easily done 500. We didn't even run any ads. I think we ran like 2 ads this year, and boom, it just sold right out. Notre Dame de Chrétienté tells me, my friends here at Notre Dame de Chrétienté, the organization that runs it, they sold out in 2 days this year. 2 days, 20,000 pilgrims signed up. But again, when we say 20,000, you got to remember this is an extremely difficult pilgrimage. Most people can't do it. I'm the old guy for sure. I'm really, really the old guy. There aren't very many people walking this pilgrimage that are older than I am. Most of them are half my age or less. They're really young, okay? And it's really, really difficult. So those kids that you see, those young pilgrims, this year I think there were 1,500 foreigners, everybody else is French. But when you see those youngsters, they obviously represent like the healthy young ones who can do this kind of thing, right? So if you look at one pilgrim, you can say, well, she's probably got a little brother, she's probably got an older sister, she's probably got a mother and a father, you know, who are also traditional Catholics. So the number just, boom, just takes off immediately. And we're not talking about kids that show up like it's World Youth Day running around in their bikinis, you know, drinking beer and having fun. Like, we can prove this. So we were filming the Mass on Pentecost Sunday. Bishop Athanasius Schneider's mass. It was hot out, sun was out. It was a long 2.5-hour mass, I think. Just a sea of humanity, 20,000. And I walked through with a camera, and everywhere I went, these young scouts and kids, these young traditional Catholics, just kneeling bolt upright on the ground. You didn't see anybody running off. You certainly didn't see anybody talking or snickering or doing what kids would normally do at an event they didn't care about. These are well-trained, well-formed Catholics. And I think that's the big difference. This is serious. They're not messing around. And people were watching the videos that we put out showing what the pilgrims are going through. And lots of people were like, I kind of thought this thing was hokey, but I'm seeing a lot of people limping. A lot of people are in a lot of pain who are trying to walk this pilgrimage. So the thing is absolutely real. It doesn't need to be expanded upon. For example, this year there was a lot of reportage right now going on that Pope Leo has sent a message to the pilgrims. I don't think he did. I quite honestly don't think he did. I think Bishop Christori here, the Bishop of Chartres, read a message in which he was sort of saying, of course, the Pope is with you. He's with all pilgrims who are trying to find Christ in the world. I have his words right here. It says, "Nous avons connaissance que le Pape Léon prie pour que chaque pèlerin vive une rencontre personnelle avec le Christ," okay, which is, we know that Pope Leo prays that every pilgrim may have a personal encounter with Christ. Okay, it's too early to say, I just don't think that was a specific, because I remember the old ones from years ago. It would be, the Holy Father has a message for the Shark pilgrims, and then it would always start, "Cher pèlerin." It was from the Pope, "Dear pilgrims, I greet you and I encourage you," and it was signed by either the Pope or the Secretary of State. This didn't happen like that. So I suppose it's possible that His Excellency Bishop Christori received some sort of communication from the Vatican, but from the recounts that I read, I don't think it was that. But the reason I bring it up is because you don't need to expand on what's happening here. This is just such a magnificent thing. If I could just have my cameraman, for example, turn to the left. This is just random. We've been seeing this all weekend long here in Chartres. This is the sort of manifestation of the faith, of the religious life that's obviously coming back. In fact, I'll tell you a little tidbit before I sign off. I'm so excited. The Shark Pilgrimage always makes me crazy excited. But we had a tour inside of here today, inside the Shark Cathedral, with Malcolm Miller, the famous Malcolm Miller. And Malcolm Miller is a bit of a cynic, but he knows the cathedral like nobody else in the world. He's the English-speaking authority on this place. And he asked me as we were leaving, he said, "Are you seeing in the States a revival of enthusiasm amongst young people for the faith?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because I keep hearing about this, that there's a revival of Catholicism, that the young people are very interested again in the faith." And I said, "Yeah, it's absolutely true. You saw your cathedral yesterday, right? It was packed out with kids." So yeah, there's so many things that are so wonderful. I mean, we have to pray for the pilgrimage, pray for the organization. They're right on the razor's edge, as I said last week, trying to make sure that they continue to have this event at the heart and center of the mainstream church, so it can influence everything else, as exactly as Archbishop Lefebvre wanted to do. He didn't want to just find a mass for himself. He wanted to try to bring the traditional mass to everybody, so everyone would have access to it. We need to pray for that. And you know what? Faith, manifestation of hope. Everybody here is full of hope. They're full of joy. They're not dour, like, "Oh, we're going to talk about how evil Vatican II was, and I'm going to talk about," yeah. No. They just want to live their faith. They're just in love with God. They're in love with Our Lady. That's it. They walk through the woods and through the fields, singing their hearts out of love. So it's a matter of faith and hope and love, right? That's what this pilgrimage is all about. True Catholic love for the faith, and you can't help it. I see these spires from this church, from 20 miles away or whatever, on Pentecost Sunday night or Monday morning, and it brings tears to my eyes. We're in love with this building. Everybody here, everybody who does the Shark Pilgrimage is in love with what's happening here, because it represents reviving the faith of our fathers, and that's the point and purpose of this pilgrimage. So I don't know, guys. I just want to encourage everybody. I'll tell you what. I'll shut up now. I'll sign off. But I want you to know one thing. This event is so incredibly hopeful. There's nothing about it that's artificial. Nobody's pulling your leg this time. Nobody's asking for your money. Nobody wants money. Money has nothing to do with any of this. Everything about it is absolutely genuine and absolutely Catholic. You have my word on that. And am I going to live to see the restoration of the Catholic Church? I don't know. I doubt it. But in my lifetime, probably not. But I know when they write the book, the history book, about how the Catholic Church rose up out of the ashes of modernist chaos, the Shark Pilgrimage is going to be cited as Exhibit A of the first sign of the fact that the people of God, Christians, Catholics, traditional Catholics, had not been defeated by the revolution, that they still believed, that they still had hope. No matter what happens, they were able to say, you didn't get us. You did not get us. We kept the faith. No matter what they do to us, we kept the faith, and we kept on smiling, we kept on loving, we kept on hoping, right? And so that to me, I'm absolutely positive that one day, when the history is written, the Shark Pilgrimage will figure prominently in the restoration that we all are looking forward to, and that is right now happening all over the world before our eyes. How do I know? Because I just spent 3 days watching. It's happening. It's real.